this is what Republicans have quietly been panicking about.
Nearly 2/3 of adults, 64%, say they would probably or definitely not support Trump if he is the Republican nominee next year.
I actually saw people connected with Mitch McConnell and other Republicans tweeting that out, that this is devastating. I mean, that's who the Republicans are moving towards putting up. He has a 33% approval rating, a favorable rating in that poll. The majority believe what he did was illegal.
And yet, despite it all, underscored by Morning Joe, Donald Trump is crushing the rest of the Republican presidential field. And in the early GOP primary states, Donald Trump is ahead by double digits. So, Joe Scarborough, what's going on here?
I tell this story repeatedly of my father. When I'm trying to get my arms around how are they staying with Donald Trump, I remember my own dad staying with Nixon until the very end and then reading the transcripts of the tapes and saying, that guy is unworthy to be president.
In Trump's cases, though, many of the incriminating transcripts are already public. The evidence is out there. And most Americans flat out reject Donald Trump's contention that he did nothing wrong.
Only 15% of Americans, let's underline this, agree with Donald Trump that he did nothing wrong.
And so a lot of Republicans are starting to freak out. They believe Donald Trump will be a surefire loser in the 2024 presidential race and will drag down Republicans in the House and Senate, giving Democrats control of both chambers. Raw story, a net loser, period. GOP strategists fear Trump has already cost them Georgia again in 2024. In other words, a growing number of Republican strategists and operatives see the political shellacking that is coming. The question is, how does the GOP derail or stop Trump from winning the party's presidential nomination next year? Well, there is an intriguing idea starting to circulate in a few Republican circles and among some top Republican donors. And it sounds similar to what Democrats did in 2020 to Bernie Sanders. You may recall that back in 2020, in a crowded Democratic presidential field, Sanders won the popular vote in the kickoff Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary. He then won the Nevada caucuses. And by the end of February 2020, Sanders was the Democratic presidential frontrunner. He led the Democratic polls. Democratic Party moderates and leadership feared a Sanders presidential nomination would hurt Democrats in down-ballot races. So before Super Tuesday, the establishment united behind Joe Biden. The rest of the Democratic field got out of the race and endorsed Biden, and in the Biden-Sanders matchup that remained, Biden won. Most Republicans are convinced that in a crowded field, Donald Trump will win the 2024 GOP presidential nomination, but that in a two-person nomination race with the Republican establishment united in backing a Trump alternative, Trump and his MAGA movement could be stopped. However, there's some key questions. First, who will emerge from the early nomination contest as the strongest Trump Republican alternative? And second, would the remaining Republican candidates drop out and support that establishment candidate in an effort to defeat Trump? For now, Trump's vitriol and unhinged attacks on the media and the court system are intensifying, and even if those attacks are hurting his general election chances and his legal chances, his niece, Mary Trump, says the former president is incapable of stopping himself.
The way in which he is presenting himself in social media, the kind of the attacking nature, the aggressiveness, that used to be strategy for him. You know, he used to throw temper tantrums strategically to get his way. It's not strategy anymore. Unconscious fear, terror, and especially fear of humiliation is so strong that he cannot course correct and realize that doing what he's always done is at this time not going to get him what he wants. In fact, quite the opposite.
And by opposite, she means convictions in his criminal cases and a general election political defeat. And it all has a growing number of establishment Republicans fearing a 2024 election year bloodbath. By the way, Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene is now openly lobbying to be Donald Trump's 2024 running mate.
I'll vote for President Trump even if he's in prison because he's an innocent man and he's the only man that can save this country.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.